Their articles what are the like mittivi that are. Person tramples with his heels in a work. You can find the study materials in the websites. In and in the system, you can also send us live questions through the systems. Anyone asking a question in the study hall is just to stand up, hold the microphone close to his mouth and speak loud and clear what are the light that a person tramples with his heels in a work about the verse it shall come to pass because you listen and keep and do them the Creator your God will keep with you the covenant and the mercy that he swore to your forefathers. Rashi interpret as follows: if the light mittivi commandments or good deeds which a person tramples with his feet, you will listen to them, and the Lord will keep you with you. His promise. We should understand what it means to us, that if a person observes the light, then the Creator will keep with you. Understand this condition, which implies that otherwise it is as though he cannot keep the oath he swore to your forefathers. Also understand what the interpreters ask: why does he begin with plural form in Hebrew keep and do ends in singular form in Hebrew will keep with you? To understand this, we first need to understand the meaning general of the 613 mittivi that we were given in the introduction to the book of. It says they are called can make commands or deposits, as well as 638, which in Aramaic is counsels. The difference between them is that in all things there is the anterior and the posterior. The preparation for something is called the posterior, and the attainment of the matter is called the anterior. Similarly, there are we shall do and we shall hear when we observe as doers of his word prior to being rewarded with hearing. The MIT are called 613 counsels, and they are regarded as the posterior when we are rewarded with hearing the voice of his word. The 63v become kin from the word in deposit. This is so because there are 63 mittivi, where in each mitzvah the light of a unique degree is the deposited corresponding to a specific organ in the 613 organs and tendons of the soul, and this is regarded as the anterior of doers of his word is during the preparation before person is rewarded with hearing the voice of his word, because hearing is when a person has been rewarded with vessels of bestow for only then he has a receptacle for the abundance to clothe in vessels of the at that time he has ears to hear the voice of the Creator, why he still immersed in vessels of reception. A person must work in doing action. The body disagrees to work for the sake of their Creator. Rather, he must believe that although he's in a state of loneliness, meaning that the body disagrees with this work to work for the sake of the Creator, nevertheless the Creator enjoys this, because in this state of loneliness person feels that he needs the Creator's help. At that time he has close contact with the Creator, since he feels that he has no other way and only the Creator can save him and deliver him from this loneliness. However, the person asks himself, where are the Creator's justice as and integrity? He labors and observes too, and he wants no reward for this. He wants to work for the sake of the Creator, as it is written in the said work, because he wants to serve a great king, because he is great and ruling. He asks the Creator to let him feel his greatness. The person believes that the Creator hears the prayer of every mouth each day. He stands and waits, have more feeling of the greatness of the Creator. In the end he sees that he has come to greater loneliness. In other words, he feels that people on the street are not as immersed in self-love. The person asks how come the street, who have no prayer that the Creator will deliver them from self-love, are fine. Feels he sees that they feel the order of the work is utter completeness, meaning that they know that each day they're advancing, meaning that their possessions are growing. It is as I said once, that each one of them has a log where he sees how many mittivi were registered to his name each day and how many pages of G he can write in his log. He on the contrary sees the opposite. Each day he is worse than the day Before also, when a person introspects, he sees that he has several ascents each day, until he sometimes thinks, now I am certain that I have reached my goal, not as it was until now. Suddenly thoughts that confuse him come to him, and he forgets everything. He completely forgets even about the ascents, and he feels nothing but loneliness after all the work he has done. He has become worse than ever. He begins to look at himself, and he finds not one good deed in himself, and he feels as though he has never observed. The question is, how can a person explain these feelings to himself? Are they true or false? That is with respect to reality, and reality cannot be erased. He certainly exerted, certainly observed, but according to his feeling it all disappeared. Question is, where did they go? Who took them? Since he does not feel them, he cannot say that he is suffering from amir, and this is why he has forgotten everything. After all, the person sees that he does remember the bad things he did. The answer is that we must believe in the sages as it is written in the said, which interprets what is written, or make it known to him that he has sinned. It asks who makes it known to him, and it explains the Torah as we once explained, by learning Torah with the intention to achieve the truth, to truly be a servant of their Creator by observing. And he does not intend to work for himself, mean that he will receive reward. Rather, he wants to observe to mitiv, as our essayist said, I have created the evil inclination. I have created the Torah as a spice, that is, he learns tea as advice by which to truly become a servant of the Creator, meaning that he wants to work for the sake of the Creator. The tea notifies him that he has sinned. This means that the order of the Torah as a spice is that first it lets him know that he has sinned, meaning how immersed he is in self-love. This is regarded as the Torah, which is the spice giving him the seali, the vessel, meaning the LCK, so he will need the Creator's help. It follows that the Torah notifies him that his faith in the Creator is something foreign to him. In other words, he feels how far he is from the Creator, that the Creator to him is like a stranger, as said about the verse, there shall be no strange God within you. God means that the Creator should not be to you like something foreign with which you have no connection, because the person is immersed in self-love, which is disparity of form from the Creator. The Creator wants only to bestow, whereas a person by nature wants only to receive. For this reason, he and I cannot dwell in the same abode. It follows that where one should have felt close to the Creator, he feels remote from the Creator. This is what the Torah makes him know, meaning one who learns tea, since he believes in the words of her sages who said, the Creator said, I have created the evil inclination. I've created the Torah as a spice. This spice is given to a person so he will feel how far he is from the Creator. It follows that the Torah man, the vessel, meaning the L, in order for man to ask the Creator who deliver him from the exile in Egypt. It is known that M from Egypt means narrow-eyed, meaning jealous. That is, a person has no power to bestow, but only receive, although he sees that it is impossible to approach the Creator before all his actions are in order to bestow. He nonetheless sees that there is no way you will be able to achieve this without his help. We already said many times why the Creator did this, meaning that there is no option for a person to emerge from Pharaoh's control. The answer is as said about what Abraham asked the Creator when the Creator promised him the inheritance of the land. How will I know that I will inherit it? And he said to Abraham, know that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs. Said that Abraham's question was that he saw what would be the inheritance of the land, which is that carries the upper abundance, which includes the 5 fez of Enav. It is known that there is no light without a vessel, mean no filling without a need. Yet Abraham saw that Israel have no need to obtain the completion of the degree Rather, if they attain even a little bit of illumination from above, they will already be satisfied naturally. They would have no need to obtain the of the soul that is included in which is called the inheritance of their land. So how said Abraham will they receive the light when they have no vessels hold a need? At that time the Creator told him, know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs. In other words, the people of Israel will be in an land, meaning desire, that does not belong to the people of Israel. Rather, they will be under the governance of the will to receive which belongs to Pharaoh king of Egypt. They will be tormented, meaning that the people of Israel will suffer because they are unable to work in order to bestow which would bring them adhesion with the Creator. Time they will need the Creator's help, as it is written, and their outcry rose up to God from their work, and God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham. Isaiah said, he who comes to purify is aided. The Tsar asks, how is he aided? And it replies, with a holy soul. In other words, first one is given, niche is rewarded, more is given. This means that to the extent that one comes to refine himself and demands help, the help he receives from above is considered a part of the inheritance of their land. According to the above, we should interpret what we asked why when a person begins to learn Torah, for the reason that the Torah is called the spice when one begins to walk on the path of truth, where the Torah is as 18, meaning counsels how to conquer the evil inclination. The person begins to see how each time, instead of feeling closer to the Creator, he feels that he has become farther. We asked, is this the way of Torah, which one becomes farther away from the Creator? The answer to that was that the Torah first gives him a vessel, meaning the lack far he is from the Creator. This is why the Z says that the Torah notifies him that he has sinned. It follows that one should not say that he's learning Torah in truth. So why does the Torah not help him as a spice? The answer is that one should believe in the sages. The Torah does help him by revealing to him that he has sinned, meaning how far he is from the Creator, and because of it he can pray from the bottom of their heart, since he feels that he is worse than other people. If he asks himself, you will see that he makes more efforts to observe, to run. So why does he feel that he's worse? A person cannot answer this. He says, as far as feeling, I feel that now I'm worse than when I engaged into before I began to walk on the path of truth. In other words, in everything he does, he sees that it is all half-heartedly and not as before. This is as B said, that the Creator said to Abraham, know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs. They will be tormented by this. They will have a need for the inheritance of the land. That is by the lack that they will have when they are bare and destitute. They will be in the state of, and the children of Israel sighed from their work, and their outcry rose up to God from their work. Other words, the work itself, the fact that they are not progressing in a work, but on the contrary, this will create their need. Then the Creator will help them each time they want to be more refined. By this they will have vessels to receive the inheritance of the land. To the above we should interpret what we asked. It came to pass, because you listen, that the Lord your God will keep with ye the covenant and the mercy that he swore to your forefathers. Rashi interpreted, if the light MIT which a person tramples with his feet, ye will listen, and the Lord will keep with you his promise. Understand this condition, that if you will listen to the light ones, the Creator will keep his promise, and otherwise he will not keep the oath. The thing is that light means things that people belittle, referring to the mind and the heart is all of the when observing them in order to receive reward. Person does not belittle these MITV. Instead, all of these MIT are called serious restrict, since they might lose the reward, or the reward they expect to receive in return for them makes this MITV important. In other words, the reward makes them valuable when a person should work for the sake of the Creator which is to him above. Reason the person has no regard for this, since the body resists working with no reward. Therefore, when we say to the body that we must work only to bestow upon their Creator, the body says that this is far from the mind, that it is not worth straining for such work. Person sees that he cannot overcome their body, as explained the fact that it is not within man's power to emerge from the control of the will to receive for himself. The Creator did this on purpose, so that by this a person will acquire need for the Creator's help, or otherwise he is lost. When a person asks the Creator to help him, by this he receives help from above. This is the light of the Torah, as the light within it reforms him in the Zah, that by this he receives vessels and the need to attain the of this was the Creator. The Creator's answer to Abraham's question, how will I know that I will inherit it, follow that precisely when a person wants to observe their needs the Creator's help. If a person has no need to observe the light mit which are contempt, necessarily he does not need the Creator's help, and since he has no need for the Creator to help him by giving him, since he has no need for this, Abraham's question, how will I know that I will inherit it, returns, since he has no need to obtain the inheritance of the land. Therefore follows that the Creator cannot keep the oath concerning the inheritance of the land. This reason his interpretation, where he says that if you will listen to the light mitzvah, the Creator will be able to keep, and the Lord will keep, meaning that the Creator will keep his promise, otherwise it is impossible to keep his promise. Accordingly, we should interpret what we asked. Why does it begin in plural form, do, and it ends in singular form? The answer is that when a person begins to work, he has two authorities. Authority, namely the will to receive, and he also wants to work for the Creator. When a person sees that he has two authorities, he asks the Creator to help him revoke his authority and leave only the singular authority, meaning the authority of the Creator. Then the Creator helps him to annul the authority and leaves men with only the singular authority. This is why it is written in singular form, and the Lord your God will keep with you, that the Creator will keep, so he will have only the singular authority. According to the above, we can understand what is written is not for your righteousness or the integrity of your heart that you are going to inherit their land, but it is because of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord your God is driving them out before you, in order to confirm the oath which the Lord swore to your forefathers to Abraham. Should understand this if the Creator wants to give the inheritance of the land to Israel because he swore to your forefathers to Abraham, it means that the reason he gave the inheritance of the land to the people of Israel was that he promised to Abraham to give the inheritance of the land. Here the verse says that the reason he gave the inheritance of the land to Israel was the wickedness of the nations, that were it not for the wickedness of their nations, the Creator would not be able to keep his promise to their forefathers. We should understand why is it that if there is the wickedness of the nations, the Creator can keep the oath, and because of your righteousness or the integrity of your heart, the Creator cannot keep the oath. To be above and work the wickedness of their nations means the evil within men's hearts. The person cannot defeat it, and he must cry out to the Creator to help him and liberate him from the governance of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. How does he help him? It is as it is written in the with a holy soul. This means that each time he asks for help, he receives a holy soul by being in exile and wanting to emerge from the exile. When a person feels that he has the wickedness of the nations who do not let him work for the sake of their Creator, but only to work for himself, this is regarded as having to work the nations of the world within his body. This is as it is written, and they built for Pharaoh cities of affliction, Tho, and interpreted that they, when they wanted to work for the sake of the creature, overcame the governance of the Egyptians. This is the meaning that they overcame self-love, like Ra offers horse, meaning with a great power like a course. They thought that they had already emerged from the governance of self-love. Then they came to P, the mouth of the meaning that all the buildings they had built it all sank and was swallowed in the abyss. Another remnant was left of all the work. This is called in other words each time they had work in a manner of P and R, meaning that each day they had to work a new, that is, each day they felt as though today they begin the work of holiness, and they felt as though until now they had never engaged in the work. They asked themselves, where did the work and labour they had done thus flourish? But they do not know what to end. Answer, as was said, it all sank and was swallowed in the ground. They could not tell their bodies, why do you not want to exert today after yesterday? You saw that when you laboured you later received the strength to work. Cannot receive something from yesterday, since he does not feel that yesterday he did something, for it was all swallowed in the ground. Indeed, why is this? So this is a correction. It follows if a person looks at himself and he has good deeds, he has no need to ask the Creator to help him any. He has no place to receive help from the Creator, as there is no thing without a lack. The Creator cannot keep the oath concerning the inheritance the land, since they have no need at he will give them the inheritance of the land as help. This is why he says it is not for your righteousness or the integrity of your heart that you are going to inherit their land. Why? Because if they are fine they have no need. This is the meaning of the words. It is because of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord your God is driving them out, since because of the evil in his body there is a need for health. Can yes says here therefore has close contact with the Creator, meaning that he feels that he has no other counsel, but only the Creator can save him and deliver him from this loneliness. And then it says is that he feels how far away he is from the Creator, that the Creator seems to him as something strange. Are these two different states, or is it the same state? It's the same state. On the one hand he discovers how distant he is from the Creator, and the Creator feels totally foreign to him. On the other hand he attains that the purpose of his work specifically to put in more forces and then turn to their Creator and pray to him. Okay, that their series call them, it's what where the reward makes them important in his eyes. Because of the reward, this is why he values them, whereas with the light he actually doesn't have the strength to keep them. These are things that are above reason, things that in his mind do not seem so important. So where will he receive the strength to keep these light? Because he writes therefore, if you shall listen to the light mitzvah, then the Creator will be able to keep his promise to Abraham. Which force does he keep the light? A mighty. Whatever is before him, what does he have before him? He sees that he must come closer to the friends and to the Creator, and one depends on the other. So he's looking for ways to do. It says that the only thing that he needs to ask for is to annul his own authority, so that he will remain with the singular authority. Yes, is this a force? I mean annulling his own authority. Is this a force? Yes, he wants to be entirely under the authority of the Creator. Then he starts to receive parts of the will to receive that he corrects, and this is called the inheritance of the land, let's say. So pretty much this is how it works. Yes. He writes to us that first the Torah reveals to a person his self. Love is the criticism that a person has towards the friend. Is that also considered self-lamp? Is this also something that must be corrected? Yes. But you can say it's always bad things I have to get rid of. Them tendency toward criticism could be such that actually pulls a person forward. We need to distinguish good criticism versus bad criticism. How is it possible? How is possible to do it? That's with the help of the light that he receives, so we should ask the Creator to also give this distinction, whether it is a good criticism or bad criticism, and then correct it according to that line. Yes. He writes the reason that he gave him, that they gave the inheritance of the land to Israel was because of the wickedness of the nations. If not for the wickedness of the nations, then Creator would not be able to keep his promise to their forefathers. How do we not get confused? I say the wickedness of the nations are those that hinder me from receiving the fulfillment for myself will to receive these for me. That's the wickedness of the nations, they hinder me in receiving. So how do I find the nations that hinder me from reaching connection and bestow? How can we distinguish between them if your intention is to reach connection between you, between the friends and with the Creator? Relative to that, you begin to sort all your desires and intentions, and you see that they are not in that direction. This means that I need to develop such that this a new desire that I want to connect in the direction of others. And then those hindrances, they are actually the nations, they are the wickedness of their nations. Yes, so today in our reality within the person himself, we truly have obstructions, and these obstructions actually cause a person to remember the purpose of creation, what connection means, and the direction towards connection. And there are obstructions that weaken the purpose of creation, the idea of the greatness of the Creator. Is it correct? To dare realize that it's actually the wickedness of the nations is actually the desires that are close to a person, that are seemingly from within him. So we have to have the right focus and not get confused about it. Last point, the wickedness of the nations, that they push us and remind us about connection and the purpose of creation. That's actually not the wickedness of the nations, it's actually help. Everything is help, just depends on which side you're looking at it. Thanks speaks about amnesia here, that's a state where a person completely forgets all of the good things, suffers from amnesia. He forgot everything and he only remembers the bad things he did. How does the connection in the 10 help a person in such a state? He is incorporated from desires, thoughts, inclinations of the friends, and that gives him direction for the correct development. Then seemingly he doesn't completely take advantage or exhaust the situation. It's a state where he's told, look, there's actually nothing good in you, forgot about everything, there's nothing good in you is in the 10, and the 10 is entirely a good thing. So seemingly doesn't, well, he needs to reach some sort of despair and ask for help, where here is the request for help. But as you said, he didn't reach the spirit. Ask differently, if a person is by himself and he reaches a certain despair with himself, then he's despaired that he has nothing. But the 10 is something that always exists, you always have it. How does it help you direct your despair correctly? Correct the despairs. He doesn't agree with the despair, and he understands that behind all these forces that despair him, you find the Creator. And where are the friends? Here inside the picture of despair, that he has his relation to the friends. This is clear, but in how the friends relate to him, do you obligate the friends to treat him as corrected? But it seems to him that the friends do relate to him in a good way, but he does not relate to them in a good way. Not clear. On, I'm asking as follows: if between a person and the Creator singly in a flat way without any depth to it, and the mind can understand it, this isn't what it's about. This actually about the connection between us, and through that we have to discover the Creator. Yes, so where is the despair here? How is it manifested in the person? SC, the relation he has to the friends and the way the friends relate to him. State is revealed that he doesn't feel the friends enough, and that's it. In that state is despaired of the friends, but it also seems to him that the friends do not relate well to him, or in that state he sees that he's not okay, but that friends are okay. Are 2 steps. One step is I'm sorry, 2 sides. The friends don't treat him correctly, but the other side is that they treat him correctly, but it's not correct. What is the end of that state? The end state is that he connects with them, and he wants to reveal in that the connection he has with the Creator, but in this end state it also seems to him that they're not relating to him correctly, or no, in the final state he justifies the friend and justifies the Creator, and in truth he also justifies himself, but he discovers he's in a process of development. This is already the corrected state, but the vessel for that, the deficiency for that, in the state of the deficiency of lack, it seems to him that everything is black, him and also the friends, or it's only he is a black, but the friends are okay, only he is okay. How should a person work systems of Israel and the nations of the world within him? Is it simultaneously with both of them, or only with Israel? He, a receiving a reaction response from the nations of the world, then this feeling is a negative feeling, bad feeling. If he continues in that, it comes to revert as a campus, brings him to the right decisions and brings him to the quality of bestow. If I understand correctly, we have to hold both ends. Both ends is good. Both ends means you in a state where you're running yourself. It's like with two reins, you use them to advance the horse forward. Come that the order of the two spices. First of all, it notifies him how much he has seen, how much he's immersed in self-love, and the spice gives him the vessel, the deficiency, so that he will need the Creator. So what is the spice? The revelation of evil, the revelation of the deficiency. Torah is a spice, it reveals to him the correct deficiencies, and from that he understands the lacks is okay. When does the feeling comes? If it only tells him, notifies him his deficiency. After his exertion, his prayer, then a new deficiency will come each time. It will shine more to yes. Where's the feeling that he needs the Creator? Yes. Why we're talking about connection, so why is the connection of the career built on a person always is asking for help? Why is the connection with the Creator built on the person always asking for help? Where will he take the powers from? Their direction, but it's not natural to make a connection in such a way each time. Mean what form of connection is it that the person is always asking for help? The Creator drops him down, he asks for help. It's not what TV, what's wrong, natural, not natural. I think it's the most natural. Look how children are learning to walk, to do anything. It's all natural in any place. Through the mistakes, the falls, the person learns. We're talking about a connection that should reach love and attention. Okay, so where is that? It's in the development. First he understands what he has to attain, then how to attain, and also on what this attainment depends, who he has to turn to. That it's not within his powers, and that's how he advances to the Creator. Reveals him. Ask question, why can't a person look at the good actions that he did, and how, though he felt the greatness of the Creator, and out of that to approach the next action? Why should he approach an action only from the revelation of evil? Why the actions opposite the Creator are not built out of the good also? So both in this world and in the spiritual world, a person cannot advance except through discovering the extent of his mistakes. Okay, so if you feel lack of forces and inability to do anything, simply search for the opposite Creator. From there to start, you can search for it, but it will be revealed. Nevertheless, can person sees that he cannot overcome the body, and as my explains, just like a person cannot come out of the will to receive, Creator did it purpose, so that by this a person will acquire a need for the Creator's help, for otherwise he has lost the question. It will never be able to overcome the body's desires. It was done like this on purpose, so a person would fail. Of course, what force can you overcome? There are no far forces, we fall into it all the time. The question is if the Creator is doing it all the time, so you will turn to him and new each time. And what's the reason that this struggle is so difficult? Because you are constantly fighting and it's hard to turn to them. Well, you need the Creator ultimately in everything, and these brings you to attention, and the moment you come to that attention, until you come to that Adian, the Creator will trip you in those struggles with the body. He doesn't fail you, he teaches you in such a way, but it's kind of studying that how does it happen to us in our world. But I don't trip my kid, he falls, I help him. No, that's not a good study. He has to learn from his life many questions. How does he get out of these states in which he falls? Why is difficult? The feeling is at kind of it's a struggle fighting with the desires of the body we try and the Creator, and makes us fail. Why is it hard for us to submit ourselves? Because we're not ready to fail. We're not willing to fail. Why we're not ready? We're not willing because we always think about success and not about the goal you wage. These words, you see that in the end the Creator is stronger. You see, you feel it every time anew, and yet it's a difficulty to let go, to accept it and see and understand that this is how it is, and turn to Him, because you're not thinking about attention, but rather you're thinking about success. Yours success does not depend on your connection with the Creator, but rather on your connection with the goal that you have established. The Creator, we miss the Creator here. Yes, so we have to go many states until you get to despair, until you will learn to which were you it's worth for you to turn to and adhere to, until the stubbornness breaks. Yes, there's no other way, otherwise it's not going to work. So on the one hand you have to keep insisting, not give up. Yes, about this point where you always think of yourself. Our person has a problem, illness is son are serving in the army. A person has a request, and inside this request for this problem that was created for him, how does he place into this request the request for attention for the purpose of creation? How to arrange this request doesn't remain a request for myself. We're all asking for some problem that created for us. How to arrange the request so it will be complete? What do we need to arrange? Try to see your request as a national request. So what will enter into this request? What does it mean, a national request? Including what? That he includes all of us together, but we are all in the request. Everyone is asking. I feel like everyone is asking for themselves something that pains them. Fine, how should I feel it? So this request I need to feel in my request that their pain will be resolved. Is this a complete request? Yes. Women question from women 3. If the Creator is good, who does good relative to me, what can I ask of him? What can I demand of him? I don't know. What is it that you think that? What is it that you can demand? Whatever you need, you want, you need to sort your requests, your states, and demand from him truly what is necessary for you. Says we cannot dwell in the same bow. When can we dwell together? When you will have the intention to bestow. Last one from women. PT2. What is the building construction of P in the 10 in the 10? Can you say that when we are working with the intellect we discover that the work disappears? The work disappears. It's not because we start working with our mind, with our intellect. No, we reach vessels of pistol. We want to develop them. We are drawn onwards with them, and this is how we awaken. Then that's it. Certainly, it is all through resistance. Again, he writes here several times, but believe in the sages that you have. To sages, the Torah constantly reveals to you your sin. So what's that with? That's so the advancement is always to the revelation of evil. Usually, yes. How else can it be if a person doesn't feel his mistake? So what is the role of the here? What does it do to a person? It's the reforming light through the recognition of evil that I have, and now I discover it. Where evil I begin to advance according to this revelation. What is correction if what the Torah reveals to you is only your sins? Corrections after it reveals to you, then what you do is corrections. The revelation of the sin is that already the correction. No, that's not yet The correction you have to take it to yourself and examine it, go through it. It's not yet a clear. So in order to take the revelation of evil and turn it into a correction, what is required? How a person leveraged the sins into corrections by checking how these qualities within him, how much they bring him closer to the society, or maybe they push him. Last one, he also says that along the way, they give a person holy, what is this thing? Are you helped it? Help a person receives, feels that forces of pistol are being added to him. Is this under the control of a person to receive it, or just happening to him? Certainly the Creator gives that, but a person receives it, he has to want it. Thank you. Again, we constantly discuss the kind of desires person is in something that's called a sin, something that's not a sin or transgression. As I understand, the basic desire of a person is to feel livelihood. If he doesn't have it, he's depressed. The head doesn't work, nothing works. First he wants to feel livelihood. This desire in of itself is not a sin, or is it a desire? Yea, to feel good, to feel lively, alive, to F with this good feeling in life. There's no desire without an intention to feel good. What for? Again, I feel good. Yes, understood it differently, meaning all other things are the means for attaining the good feeling. The question is, where is he getting this good feeling from? Is it from corporality, or is it going towards spirituality to receive this good feeling? But the end goal is to feel good. In other words, if he doesn't feel good, he can't connect, he can't think, he can't do anything. First he wants this entire mechanism to work, meaning this is the final feeling that you talking about. A person is drawn to it if he reaches a state where he comes to a good feeling. That's the end of the way. When a person wants to feel good, then he discovers that there are things that take him good places. That's part of his natural desire. There are things tacked to the good places, and parts are taking to the bad places. So he's looking for the good place from which he can extract the good feeling and remain in it and continue to develop. I can still feel good for a while, and then troubles will come because I took it to a bad place. So they tell us the only thing you're going to feel good with is going to continue to develop and grow. As if you cleave to the Creator, stick to him. They say this is the way to jail, to tear to him. Okay, continue this basic desire. That's not a sin yet, that's person's nature. Okay, yes. Okay, I lost the thread of the question. That's okay, it happens. Yes, the process here described here, a person studies Torah and it reveals to him the evil. It's relatively easy process as far as what's happening here, because a person identifies the evil and he understands he's dealing with the Greater. What I see here with this is that when we receive a dissent, person feels like he never put in any effort, he's disconnected, he doesn't feel the Creator doing this action to him. This state is much more difficult to come out from compared to already having a connection, and you're just working the revelation of evil. The evil here is revealed in such a way that you're simply disconnected and have no connection, and you never had it. That's a feeling, and it brings a person to despair. How to work with that state when you're receiving a dissent? You totally disconnected, as if you had nothing in spirituality. Start with the connection with the friends. When I came to ask a question, it's clear that this is the answer, but even the connection with the friends at this point seemingly does not exist. It doesn't help. It's only because we come here and it happens of its own almost, but it's not like the person is doing. When can a person do something? You're operating, you came here, you sat down on the chair, you opened your book, you heard something that was being spoken of, you did something, you started with things that are very foolish and corporeal in nature, and gradually you were elevated, jump up. This forgives a lot of loneliness to person, that this is the way he can connect. A person knows he learns from this, not the Linus, he learns how he can through these actions, these earthly simple actions, to elevate himself from one degree to the next, more and more and more and more. But the fact that goes through complete disconnection, the beginning of I feel, that it brings you a state that you're a person's completely frustrated he can leave the path because he goes through a state that as if he never had anything, and in the world to receive it's very difficult to go through these stages. Also the connection with the friends isn't strong enough to hold a person through that, and to give him a feeling that it is the creator doing this action on him, and on that point I have no answer how to help friends, because the connection to what we have isn't in a way that I can affect a friend, influence him to go through it quicker. No, in such a state only the creator can help him move to the next state. So that's where the question came from, the frustration of the friends that see the states, we see it on each other all the time, that we can't help a state. A friend go through a state, we all go through it in the T, we feel the this connection, and we don't really help, except for being passive. At least come to the 10 it all happen, but there's still not an active way to be still on one another in such a way. We learn about this in every article we read in the morning. There's such a state in which only the creator can take you from that state and move you to the next. And then we feel that too bad the 10 doesn't do it. The 10 should, the 10 can't, because you're not connected to the 10. Right, that's what I'm saying. I don't have that first connection to do the right, sir. And then it turns out that our work, we want to be in a state where we can help each other, but we're not in that state. It's very difficult and very frustrating that to begin with is intended for us to be able to move from one state to the next where there's a certain disconnect between them. Yes, no, thank you. It's written that if you heard and did the deeds, and the creator kept the covenant and the mercy that he gave your fathers, and entreated the light, if you will hear the light mighty, the creator will watch over you. How can we hold this renewing of the covenant and the mercy every morning, every day before we come here? I'll tell you why I'm asking, because that will help a person shake his state of that. I understand, but to keep this by the society is inanimate, it's still, let's say, but when they are drawn to a certain state, they're already vegetative, and when each gives to the other direction, then they already have a way, and on that path that they're looking at others, he can also connect to this, and thus advance to continue between the still and the animate something in a person's character that he wants to be still in holiness, not to move. Yes, not to move. Well, it's pleasant, but there's an inner knowledge that we have to move, we have to advance. Yes, so how do we go from still to the edge? By us constantly developing a stronger connection with the environment. Look how plants grow only out of being connected to their surrounding, to the earth, to the air, to the water, to everything, to look for that same state and connect it between us. Yes, I heard that we're always thinking of success and not of it is, and that's the heart of the problem. What does it mean? That's not the heart of the problem. That's the center of our development. Why is it a problem? If I'm in a tendency towards my development corporally, then from that I already begin my spiritual development. Yes, everything comes from the and let's say a person tells himself, today I want to be in thoughts of the friends instead of myself, thoughts of be so in love instead of being concerned about nonsense, and he discovers that he fails. Yes, so what does he do? What does he do? Eventually he understands that besides help from above, nothing else will help. And what help can he get? In that the creator will show him what he needs to adhere to. What? To his society. So he'll say, okay, I will try to be more here at the society, and then he check himself again in the next station where he can check, and I'll see that he failed again. So what does he do? Now he does the same thing, but it's no longer the same failure and not the same examination like he had before. It's higher now, so from one check to the next he becomes rich with failures. No, not just in the failures, altogether in the results. Also, what are the results? It's the question on what degree I'm failing. There's a difference between failing at first grade or second grade grade or third grade, etc. What's the benefit of all ascending on the ladder of failures that I can reach correction? Each time after the failure don't discover I'm reaching correction, I'm only going to greater failures. No, by me failing I'm also learning. I'm learning what state I'm in and how I can emerge out of it and where to come. Do we need to reach states that have to do with equivalence of form, right? Yes, so in all the articles and in life I don't recognize that I ascend on degrees of equivalence of form. I'm ascending on degrees of disparity of form. No. Why do you think that? Way I am discovering more and more how much I am in a like a disparity of form, like you say, but that's on the other hand explaining to me how and what form I am in relation to the greater. It's not because I fall deeper, but it's from me discovering more refined or delicate results. Soon we will continue with this. Yes, G maybe to continue. The problem isn't that a person discovered that he's his nature and he's despair. That's okay. The problem is that nothing shines in front of him. He doesn't want to come out of the state. The fact that you reveal the evil, that's clear, but there's not enough motivation to go out and to be still. It doesn't shine on you. So it turns out that in the end a person is despaired, but from the despair no new degree comes out of it. Your question is, why don't I see in the despair a new degree? Supposedly I know that the answer, you have to get greatness and importance, that this illumination comes from society, that they will illuminate, but for some reason this cause isn't strong enough compared to the temptation and the vessels of reception of what it gives you. So then there's a state that a person on the path, he sees that in the vessels of reception he understand at his stat is to reach love, bestow, and so on, but his fuel the force to make that jump from despair to the next degree. There's no attracting force here. Correct. I'm afraid of your answer. I'll tell you the truth. Have to get it from society and connection. But so, that's despairing. So where is it? What? First of all, I'm hearing here a problem that you want to receive an answer from outside of you, from the society. I'll tell you what person doesn't want it enough. That's why he's not turning to him. He doesn't have a plea. He doesn't want it enough. Yes. So where does this desire come from? From the society, from the collective request. The request needs to be common, and the people of Israel's side from the work. Ye understand? I supposedly understand. Yes, supposedly I understand. I'm lacking something here. The whole descent into Egypt and the whole exile of Egypt is in order to show them that alone no one attains the goal. Rather only everyone together. Thank you all. No, maybe we have a problem with the definitions of the words. Maybe we have to feel the states of despair not as a failure, but as a success. Maybe that's the reason that we're afraid to get there, because if we do, it's like it's as if we fell. So we didn't good work, but maybe it's the opposite, that we did do good work, and the friends have to tell us, and that state, wow, good for you that you came to a state of despair and you feel that nothing's important and society and not the study, how great you are, and that will help us switch. Again, maybe that's the reason out that we're a bit stuck, because we don't want to give the next step, because I don't want to fall. Maybe that's a state. Okay, maybe. Yes, has to be a common plea. G just said he doesn't have forces to jump from despair, so he has to come to his tea and ask for that he'll be in a prayer all day. Yes, just to knock on that point of deficiency. Catch the creature adhere to him and don't come down from him. Thank you, Ken. Yes, I am a understand of what's written in the article, that our goal is to develop the vessel through despair, through suffering. So when is it considered that we got to a whole vessel, a complete vessel? Hey, perfect. CLE is when it's exactly aimed to the goal, and he turns to the creator with this request, and he has to reach despair. No, why in despair? In despair then he has no deficiency. He needs to be maybe in despair like you're saying, but he needs to be in a deficiency that he's demanding the correct plea. So he has complete despair on one hand, And on the other hand he has the greatness of the Creator, and the same level isn't that considered a state of a whole vessel. Here there's another question. What is a whole? C.L.E. called this is a great and empty desire in which there's no hope to fill it, and then a person cries out, and such a cry at it causes him the exodus from Egypt. Together what state does he have to come to so that the Creator will take him out of Egypt? Thank UK, let him ask there. No one. Question whatever you say. Pleasure with a screen is 620 times greater than pleasure without a scream. The question is, how do the Holy Rash through this wonderful article? How does he help us reach that? I don't know how he helps us, but it is he probably has such an intention. Yes, when does dissemination become spiritual work? When a person can manage. I thank you. The path is showing here the classic explanation of despair and prayer. When you see what the friends are going through, there's like 3 paths. One is that a person is despaired and leaves. The second is that a person goes into his pension plan, that he stays, but he dies inside and he just keeps going. And another path that he advances and is able to reach the prayer. Now the 3 paths here, that you have to turn to the Creator and come to society and get importance. What is the difference between those paths, and helps a person to really come to the plea to come out of Egypt and not fall under his load? To the extent in which a person changes his attitude towards the society, and it changes him, that it moves him from one side to another until he starts prying. It's like can depict where a person is like a patty of sorts on a frying pan, and you heat it up and you flip it, and it's like that until he cries out that every state, just not the current state, could be better. That's the state we have before the escape from Egypt, but there has to be some measure of pain, that every state is better except for this. Yes, but how will this pain not become in us? Sometimes it just feels that nothing's painful, and no, at that point you can't hide it anymore. You can't hide the pain from yourself. You don't know what to do with it. And the people of Israel sighed from the work. Yes, and then they cried out to the Creator not to bring the pain, not to calm it, not to silence it, but increase it till you reach the prayer and the cry in a way that's something that the Creator cares for more than a person. But here a person needs to express his persistence, in which anything but leave from what's painful to a person in such a state. Pain from him. Well, how can I define this pain from not being able to rid himself from this state? Well, it means like according to his bodily sensation he's willing to do anything in order to not suffer, and according to the spiritual feeling he can't tolerate, he can't stand this corpor feeling. Meaning, why is he in a state that his bodily state impacts him more than his spiritual state? It's not clear what his bodily state is uncomfortable. It's not good for him. He's impatient, etc. Actually, the state is completely bodily in the feeling in his organs, and here he sees that he has no exit from it, and that brings a prayer. A cry, yes. No, there's a feeling that the Creator for the answers of prayer, and then gradually the answering is stretched out more and more. In time the Creator checks your attention according to the time that he answers you. Yes, how not to fall and reach the spare when time is gradually stretched and adhere to the Creator more and more. It's as if the Creator is giving us a test, like a little child, that first the answers, and then like a day after or a month after, to see as much as he deals with the problem, but how not to fall into despair and the stretching of time. This depends on the extent in which a person understands that he has no choice, but he is simply expecting for the upper grace for the upper. Can you shorten that time, or will the Creator constantly extend it? He needs to do all that is needed to connect more to the friends and to the society, and to perform all kinds of actions by which he will certainly feel worse, but on the other hand it will push him Forward the people of Israel were in exile even before they reached the final stage of their exile in Egypt, but they didn't feel that they were in exile when they start to go down to what they call exile. They start to feel it as a true exile, at which point they couldn't stand it. So we need it. So between to develop as much as possible acts of mo against them, we will discover that we are all in acts of reception, and for this to push us forward, for us to hate our state. Okay, let's what is again what is what are tears are overflowing of reflecting light that cannot clothe the direct light. What's the mechanism? What's the result of the tears? The result of the tears is a great thing. Let's say it's the same reflected light that doesn't have the possibility of clothing the direct light in a simple way, MIA, and from that the vessel grows that eventually composes the sea, and the screen will be stronger. Yes, know about the need to reach the plea. One person is like a burger on the frying pan. Person is in a state of despair or very, very troubled with some problem, and he can't remain in the state like you said. What then is plea to the Creator to have forces to do what? This depends on his environment. A person alone cannot decide. It depends on the environment, the extent in which we come closer and closer to exit Egypt, the more we feel how dependent we are on one another, and here there already needs to be an examination, bestow, etc. So it turns out that person eventually sees that except for a plea, that the Creator will help him agree with the state, surrender to the state, see that it comes from none else besides him, the good that does good. That's the first thing that needs to be right, like a subduing towards any state that comes, and then the moment that a person is in such a plea or an understanding, so there's no more Christ. So how do you combine complete surrender and justification on any state? On the other hand, you don't lose that drive to not agree with the state. How do you agree and not agree at the same time? This is under the condition that he is connected with the friends. You know the answer to this, that all our advancement in the right direction, in the right pace, the right power, it all depends on the society. Okay, we're constantly receiving signs that we're missing the society, that we're lacking at social pressure. What's special about this wonderful group we have? You teach us like the Kabbalist that taught through the thousands of generations, continuing what we don't learn in a small, closed group of cis. It's a very different method. There's a lot of advantages with thousands of people spread all over the earth, but there's something in the dozens of years we hear that we're not succeeding in making that small switch that is demanded of us, and supposedly we can. I remember you told us once when we were in the old building that if you weren't connected to the world, you would already be in attainment, something like that. So what characterizes the spiritual work of BB in this time on the background of this crazy reality that we can't implement it again to say that it's connection, but it was always connection. What's special now? The conditions change, the conditions that pressure us from outside demand of us to be tighter to one another, to feel, understand each the other. We have to see that there is no other way to understand this state. Continue the scrutiny. We have to connect. We're trying to connect all the time, and the reality and the feeling that you see more and more that you need a miracle that you can. There's a shell on your heart that closes you on yourself, and you can't feel the friends. Whether you try, you'll drink, you'll eat, you'll try, you'll pray. In that shell, from that shell you can't come out, and we feel we need a miracle. We need the upper force to come and take the show away. This feeling strengthens that we need a miracle. Here said that's it. So what do we do? Know why you tell us what to do. How do we come to this state of it's reached its final straw? The feeling is there to come out. Sorry for saying this, but to come out of the we're in, we have to come out, everybody. We need the help of the Creator to come out of this. It's clear to everybody that's the data everybody's doing. You see, look how Everybody's sitting here prepared. From their heart I don't know what we need to happen, but we need to obligate the Creator to answer us. That's what Rabash would usually answer me. You have a problem, turn to him, address him as who to address, and address him. That's it. This is the whole obstacle, that we're not turning to him enough, that we don't believe it'll help. The plea, why don't we turn to him, is a what connection. A little child does not cry in his corner so that he won't be seen. He runs to his mommy and cries to her, like on her knees, because he feels that that's his source in his mother. And we don't feel that. We can't develop that feeling that we have a source. That's a problem. You said we have to obligate the Creator's data. No one way to do it. A person of deeds, it's to obligate the Creator according to what I feel. Is that I say that tomorrow I'm going to come to the morning lesson. Too simple as it sounds, I think that's Water taught us that. He said that the water is penetrating if I'm prepared to go through this process every day upon this feeling, and to commit that tomorrow I'm going to come to the same place. I think that's what's going to help us. The commitment that we're going to come the next day to receive the remedy. I agree 100%. That is also how, more or less, I told Rabash, and he was happy to hear that. Yes, eventually that's what helped the person. It's called you engaged in tea, and you expected salvation, where a person is asked when he reaches after his passing to the upper courthouse. I have many things here, what do I do with them? Okay, good morning. Are after to continue the questions of the friends I want. We talked about suffering, about feelings, what you feel despair or not in me, that I'm not afraid of suffering. So in truth I love suffering, meaning according to the sufferings I have a connection with the Creator. So when I feel joy I'm also happy, because the confidence from joy to strength in my faith. I know that this comes from the Creator. Also in sufferings I'm happy, because I have a demand. So I want something, but I can't attain it. So I have a connection with the Creator. But what I'm afraid of is emptiness. Emptiness, that is, you don't feel suffering or torments you nothing. You have no connection with the Creator. So why is emptiness felt so heavily? That's my question. It's something wonderful what you're saying, that the fear of emptiness, meaning the fear of disconnection from the Creator, that I can ask and get a question an answer from not having any connection with Him, and I feel it as emptiness in me, that there was a connection and it was torn. Yet that feeling we need to fight it and demand instead of it a feeling of connection, and turn it into such a connection between us that we'll be able to receive through it. We able to receive all of the answers through it, all of the attainments of creation. Thank you. It is written, and it is known what our sages said, one who comes to purify is aided. The Holy Zohar asks him what is he aided, and it answers with the Holy Soul. Kaul is asking, how does a person come to such an outcry that he receives help from the Creator to give him a holy soul? Also that cry comes from the Creator. The revelation of the deficiency comes from the Creator. How to reach it? Only through persistence, only through persistence, meaning that day after day to cry and cry and cry as much as possible, even if it's tears with no meaning, but through them we'll reach the true deficiency. Just like little children, that they cry still, we see that it's nothing but afterwards, or we get sick of it, and still, because you give them mercy, we just give them what they want, even though their deficiency isn't true. One, what does it mean that one is aided with a holy soul? What helps is that a person doesn't deviate from their path when he holds on to nothing but leave. No way does he ever leave the group, and just keeps going forward, and in that way he continues. No, what does it mean that eventually he was helped with a holy soul? What happened with him actually with that help that he received? They open his eyes a bit, they raise him a bit in the degrees of the ladder, and that's how he advances. Is this revealed as a gift for the work that he did? Simply, I labored and I found meaning. I was rewarded this way or that way. we can determine precisely why we got a certain attitude or another from above. Help with a holy soul. Does this happen like once in a life, or like the Exodus from Egypt, or can it happen every day to a person? No, it happens on special points on the path. Turkey 8. Women, we're trying with all our might to come to a demand for salvation. Is my salvation dependent? If my salvation is dependent on other salvations, then how can I implement this? My salvation depends on the friend, so then how can I implement this like others? So how do I implement it? Through the friends. Yeah, of course, I will never come out of Egypt like we see according to the story. You don't come out of Egypt alone, only through coming out together. Okay, Turkey 10. 2. Woman, what is exactly upon us to do in order to correct our sins? Can we say that what we're to do is to observe the process we're going through? We don't have vessels to observe this process correctly. We read about it, we see it, but to actually observe and research and keep going with a common decision together, we still can't. What we can do is to just continue according to the few rules we have on their path. That's that good. There is something that confused me. A friend asked that whether our final action, our final goal, is for to be good, and you said yes, and it's the opposite of what I understood. The goal can't lead us to the goal that we want. I want to do something good to someone who's great outside of me. The creature is the good that does good. If we eventually come to the state incorporating in him, our state will be good too. That's clear. But the goal is not for it to be good. For me, is it? No. Everyone, yes, okay, thank you. Good morning. We are observing because they are important, and in order not to receive reward and punishment where do we get these light mighty from? Are we capable of observing in the commandment when we discover his face also? True. Latin 1. Good. And the people of Israel rose their side, and their outcry came out. How can we come to this collectively? You see, sometimes a friend is hurting or crying or in pain, but how do you come to this ideal conditions that it will happen in the whole society? We don't need to wait for it to be revealed in all of society, but the fact that we're connected, we need to increase this feeling of their exile in our common heart. That's it. Okay. Moscow. For thank you. How and in what way can we compensate for a feeling that the Creator is our source, and we need to always only turn to him? Just like with the example of a son and his mother, if we are connected together and we want to connect in order to come out of our ego's control, so we're constantly in contact with the Creator, and we can turn to him and demand of him spiritual ascent. That's it. Last ones. PT 24. We need to constantly hold on to that point of connection and from it operate from it in every moment in life. What is that point of connection? It sounds very much like a certain description that is very obscured. How to find that point of connection? The point of connection is a central point of each and every group, and we need to depict to ourselves that we are in it, and to ask, to demand, to pray that that point will connect us all together, all of us, and in this way we can come out of Egypt. 3. Good morning. I wanted to know how it works out. You did everything in wisdom. And an outcry. I didn't understand. Repeat it again. That is the state in which you have done everything in wisdom, and out how the states work together. Well, that's because it's in a person. If a person receive them together, so it connects, and if not so, no. Okay. Let's go to the next part. Right, that's enough. What else do we have today? Either the study of or the introduction to the book. We then finish. Okay, let's go to the introduction, so we will move to the next part of the lesson. We are reading in the book, and the writings of the introduction to the book were in item number 20. As a result of these two corruptions, man's body was corrupted. to as it is precisely adapted by creation to receive the abundance of its sustenance from the system. Of this is so, because in any viable at parts are guarded from any surplus or scarcity, an act that is not viable and sustainable is, because its parts are unbalanced, there is some shortage or surplus in them. Say in the poem of unification of all you work not a thing. You have forgotten you did not add, and you did not subtract. It is a mandatory law that perfect operations stem from the perfect operator. However, when a person passes from the system of to the system of due to the barnacle attached to his construction by the tree of knowledge, many parts of him are already in surplus, needless, since they do not receive anything from the abundance of sustenance dispensed from the authority of the is, as we find with the elbows. See it in the and also in a certain portion of each and every organ. Hence once one must receive sustenance into one's body more than is necessary, since the surplus joins every demand that rises from the body. The body receives for them, however, the surplus itself cannot receive its share, thus its share remains in the body as surplus and litter that the body must later eject. In consequence, the feeding and digesting tools exert in vain, they diminish and lessen to extension, because their sentence is predetermined as that of any imbalanced act destined to disintegrate. You find that from the perspective of the construction of the body to its death depends on cause and effect from the tree of knowledge. Now we have been awarded learning and knowing, the two contradicting opposite conducts which we learned in item 11. The sustenance and keeping of the created beings has already passed from the system of to the system of the, because of the barnacle of the great will to receive for oneself connected to the created beings by the eating from the tree of knowledge. This induced separation, oppositeness, and hatred between the system of K and the structure of the bodies of the created beings in this world can no longer sustain and nurture them from the high table to not destroy reality and to induce an act of correction for them. It gives the collective abundance of the sustenance of reality her 288 sparks to the system of the soul. They will provide for all creations in the world during the correction period. Hence the conducts of existence are very confused, since evil sprouts from the wicked, and if the abundance is reduced to the created beings, it certainly brings ruin and destruction, and if abundance is increased, it brings excessive force of separation to their receivers, as our sages said, he who has 100 wants 200, he who has 200 wants 400. It is like the separated pleasure that the separated and defected flesh senses, where increased pleasure increases separation and affliction. Thus self-love greatly increases in the receivers, and one swallows one's friends alive. Also the life of the body shortens. The accumulation of reception brings the bitter drop at the end sooner, and wherever they turn they only condemn. Now you can understand what is written in the to until one prays that tar will enter one's body, one should pray that no delicacies will enter one's body. This is because the form of self reception, which is the opposite of increases and multiplies by the measure of pleasure that one's body acquires. How can one obtain the light of Torah within one's body when he is separated and in complete oppositeness of form from the and? There is great hatred between them, as with all opposites they hate each other and cannot be under the same roof. One must first PR that no delights or pleasures will enter one's body, and as the deeds in tea and accumulate, one slowly purifies and inverts the form of reception to be in order to bestow. Find that one equalizes one's form with the system of and the equivalence and love between then returns as prior to the sin of the tree of knowledge. This one is awarded the light of Torah, since he enters the presence of their creator. What are you laughing at? Ellie, I'm impressed how it's the same thing, how in a unique and amazing sharp way, completes Rabash in, or I don't know in this process way, and it's exactly the same thing, we read the same process. Yeah, no, maybe you read it again, item number 20. As a result of these two corruptions, man's body was corrupted to as it is precisely adapted by creation to receive the abundance of its sustenance from the system. This is so because in any viable act its parts are guarded from any surplus or scarcity. An act that is not viable and sustainable is because its parts are unbalanced and there is some shortage or surplus in them. As he says in the poem of unification of all your work, not a thing you have forgotten you did not had, and you did not subtract. It is a mandatory law that perfect operations stem from the perfect operator. However, where a person passes from the system off to the system of the due to the barnacle attached to his construction by the tree of knowledge, many parts of him are already in surplus, needless, since they do not receive anything for the abundance of sustenance dispensed from the authority of their, as we find with the loose bones, see the creator and sorry see in the said, and also in a certain portion of each and every organ one must receive sustenance into one's body more than in necessary, more than is necessary, since the surplus joins every demand that rises from the body, hence the body receives for them. However, the surplus itself cannot receive its share, thus its share remains in the body as surplus and litter, and the body must later eject. In consequence, the feeding and digesting tools exert in vain, they diminish and lessen to extinction, because their sentence is for determined as that of any imbalanced act destined to disintegrate. Thus you find that from the perspective of the construction of the body to its death depends on cause and effect from the tree of knowledge. Now we've been awarded learning the knowing, and knowing the two contradicting opposite conducts, the sustenance and keeping of the created beings, has already passed from the system off to the system of the, because of the barnacle of the great will to receive for oneself connected to the created beings by the eating from the tree of knowledge. This induced separation, oppositeness and hatred between the system of and the structure of the bodies of the created beings in this world, when they can no longer sustain and nurture them from the high table to not destroy reality and to induce an act of correction for them. It gives the collective abundance of reality, which is her 288 sparks to the system of the soul. They will provide for all creations in the world during the correction period. The conducts of existence are very confused, since evil sprouts from the wicked, and if the abundance is reduced to the created beings, it certainly brings ruin and destruction, and if the abundance is increased, it brings excessive force of separation to the receivers, as our sages said, he who has 100 wants 200, he who has 200 wants 400, like the separated pleasure that the separated and defected flesh senses where increased pleasure increases separation and affliction, thus self-love greatly increases in the receivers, and one swallows one's friends alive, and also the life of the body shortens, since the accumulation of reception bring the bitter drop at the end sooner, and wherever they can turn they only condemn. Now you can understand what is written in the two, until one prays that Torah will enter one's body, one should pray that no delicacies will enter one's body. This is because the form of self reception, which is the opposite of kosher, increases and multiplies by the measure of pleasure that one's body acquires. Thus how can one obtain the light of Torah within one's body when he is separated and incomplete oppositeness, and there is great hatred between them? As with all opposites, they hate each other and cannot be under the same roof. Therefore one must first pray that no delights or pleasures will enter one's body, and as the deeds in accumulate, one slowly purifies and inverts the form of reception to be in order to bestow. You find that one equalizes one's form with the system of and the equivalence and love between them returns as prior to the sin of the tree. Knowledge thus one is awarded the light of the Torah since he enters the presence of the Creator. Questions he writes that before he prays for the light of the Torah to enter his body first of all, so there'll be no delights for his body. Right, what does that mean? That he doesn't want to receive whatever he doesn't deserve. He's talking about the exalted states, where he's already looking and sees that his states are not, his deeds are not for the sake of the Creator in those states. Supposedly so, it doesn't belong to our world, nothing belongs at also altogether, so there's no point in diminishing in deeds that bring pleasure to the wilderness, even our world. No, not that. Okay, thank you. What are you looking? Me, you have a question? No, maybe just to say and to thank for the opportunity that we have every morning you're anew to awaken these deficiencies, these questions, these scrutinies, the connection between us, the closeness to the Creator. That's it. That's what. Thank you too. Okay, we're done.